Imagine standing completely alone 100,000 years ago. Look around you. There are no cities, no concrete walls to hide behind, no artificial lights bleeding into the night sky. There is no fire crackling nearby to keep the shadows at bay. And there is absolutely no help coming. You are entirely stripped of all technology, no weapons of steel, no phones to call for a rescue. Just you, the raw earth beneath your bare feet, and a silence that is so heavy, it almost crushes your lungs. If you scream right now, no one is going to hear you. The cold wind will just swallow your voice, and the vast, indifferent wilderness will carry on as if you never existed. Life back then wasn't just difficult, it was brutally, unforgivingly short. Every single day was an exhaustive negotiation with death. The world was a constant, violent meat grinder designed to erase you. You had to worry about apex predators hunting you from the tall grass, massive beasts with teeth the size of your forearm, waiting for you to make one wrong step. You had to worry about starvation, the agonizing gnaw in your stomach that drove you to eat things that might poison you, just to survive another afternoon. You had to worry about microscopic diseases that had no name. A simple scratch from a thorn could fester, rot, and end your life in days of feverish agony. And then there were the accidents. A broken ankle from a bad fall didn't just mean pain, it meant you were dead weight. A death sentence, slowly carried out as your tribe was forced to leave you behind. Death was everywhere. It was in the water you drank, the food you hunted, the very air you breathed. Yet, despite all of this blood, all of this suffering, and all of this constant suffocating danger, none of these things were what early humans feared most. Think about that. Most people would naturally assume that dying would be the ultimate terror. You would think that being torn apart by a predator in the dark, or slowly wasting away from hunger, would be the absolute peak of human panic. But you would be completely wrong. The primitive mind was accustomed to death. They understood it. They saw it every day. The brutal end of a life was just another Tuesday. It wasn't the predators. It wasn't the freezing cold. It wasn't the lack of food. There was something else. Something far more deeply rooted in the architecture of their minds. A terror so profound, it shaped the very way our species evolved to think, act, and survive. And the strange thing is, this exact same fear still lives inside your brain today. Watch the sky. The sun is beginning to set. That golden light, the only thing giving you a sense of control, is slowly bleeding out of the world. And as the colors fade into a deep, bruising purple, something inside your body starts to change. Your heart beats a little faster. Your pupils dilate. Your muscles tense up. During the day, you were a capable survivor. You could see the horizon. You could track footprints in the dirt. You could spot a predator from a mile away and plan your escape. Sunlight meant information, and information meant power. Under the bright sun, early humans were dangerous. They could coordinate, hunt, and dominate the landscape. But the moment that sun dips below the horizon, the entire hierarchy of the food chain flips. You are no longer the hunter. You are the prey. Absolute darkness swallows the world. You lose your primary survival tool. Your vision is completely wiped out, and suddenly, every single noise is magnified. A branch snapping in the distance, the rustling of dry leaves just outside your peripheral vision, a low, guttural breathing sound that you cannot pinpoint. Your brain is desperately trying to map your surroundings, but it has zero data to work with. There is a terrifying absence of information. The real problem wasn't what was actually out there in the dark. The true nightmare was what could be out there. When your brain cannot see, it starts to panic. It forcefully fills the void with worst-case scenarios just to keep you on high alert. That snapping branch wasn't just the wind. It was a massive predator stalking you. That shadow shifting in the trees wasn't a bird. It was something waiting to tear you apart. This agonizing uncertainty is the exact birthplace of the first legends. Monsters, spirits, demons lurking just beyond the firelight. When early humans huddled around a fragile campfire, staring into the black abyss, they didn't tell stories of monsters to entertain each other. They weren't inventing religion. They were creating a psychological survival mechanism. By giving the terrifying unknown a face, a name, and a story, they were trying to gain a tiny shred of control over it. A monster can be fought. A spirit can be appeased. But the pure, blank void of the unseen, that is paralyzing. You might think that this suffocating darkness, this total loss of control, was the peak of their terror. But darkness wasn't the real fear either. We have stripped away the daylight. We have surrounded you with predators, starvation, and total darkness. But the ultimate terror, the true architect of human anxiety, hasn't even been named yet. It wasn't the jaws of a beast. It wasn't the freezing cold. It wasn't rotting diseases. And it wasn't even death itself. Death, as brutal and painful as it was a certainty. It had a face. It had a physical shape. You could see a wolf approaching. You could physically feel the winter cold. You knew exactly what famine looked like. But there was one thing our ancestors could not fight, could not run from, and could not comprehend. The absolute greatest fear in human history was simply this: not knowing. When a terrifying, unnatural sound echoed through the deep woods and there were no footprints attached to it, that was the unknown. When the sky suddenly turned black in the middle of the afternoon and unleashed a violent, landscape-destroying storm, that was the unknown. When a perfectly healthy tribe member suddenly collapsed, burning with a mysterious fever, or when someone walked into the tree line to gather wood and simply vanished without a single trace, that was the terrifying power of the unknown. You see, the human brain is, at its core, a survival prediction machine. It evolved for one specific purpose: to calculate the next moment so you can survive it. If you see a predator, your brain predicts a chase, and it instantly pumps your legs with adrenaline. It knows exactly what to do. But when the brain encounters something it cannot explain, something it has no data to predict, the entire system crashes. It cannot prepare a defense against something it does not understand. The result is a total psychological overload, a paralyzing, agonizing state of hyperarousal that we now call anxiety. Everything our ancestors built was an attempt to cure this sickness of the unknown. Why do you think they started obsessively observing the stars and mapping the constellations? They were desperately searching for patterns to predict the seasons. Why did they create complex rituals and elaborate beliefs? They were trying to negotiate with an unpredictable universe. They were trying to buy certainty in a world that offered absolutely none. They spent thousands of years building systems to eliminate the terror of the unknown. And the most surprising part: modern humans still fight the exact same battle. Look around your environment today. The physical world has completely changed. You don't have to worry about an apex predator stalking you on your morning commute. There are no massive beasts you need to hunt for survival, and you don't have to defend your shelter from rival tribes wielding sharpened stones. When the sun goes down and the sky turns black, you simply flick a switch on the wall, and absolute darkness is instantly banished by artificial light. You live in arguably the most comfortable, secure, and predictable era in the entire timeline of human history. But take a step back and look a little closer at your own daily life. Pay attention to the quiet thoughts that keep you wide awake staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning. You no longer fear the unexplained rustling in the dark bushes. Instead, you fear the silence of an email you haven't received yet. You fear failing at your career and losing everything you have built. You are terrified of losing your money, of being socially rejected by your peers, or of eventually ending up completely alone. You agonize over what tomorrow might bring, or what the next 5 years will hold for your life. Ultimately, you fear the unknown future. The bitter irony of our existence is that our environment has radically evolved, but our underlying biology has not. The modern human brain is surrounded by screens, Wi-Fi, and advanced technology, but beneath the surface, it is still furiously operating on ancient, primitive hardware. When you face a modern situation you cannot perfectly predict, like a looming project deadline, a sudden economic shift, or an unpredictable social interaction, your brain doesn't just see a minor modern inconvenience. It registers the exact same mortal threat that your ancestors saw lurking in the deep, uncharted woods. It triggers the exact same adrenaline response. It floods your nervous system with the exact same paralyzing panic. This is the fundamental truth of human psychology. Ancient humans feared uncertainty because it could physically kill them in an instant. Modern humans fear uncertainty because they desperately realize they cannot control it. The very first humans who walked this harsh earth did not survive because they somehow conquered their fear. They survived because they felt the agonizing terror of the unknown, and they learned how to step into the dark anyway. They learned how to build, adapt, and move forward despite the overwhelming panic trying to hold them back. And every single time you choose to step out of your comfortable routine and walk into an unpredictable, uncertain future, you are not weak. You are actively repeating one of the oldest, most successful survival behaviors in all of human history. The fear changed its shape, but it never truly disappeared.